What's up you guys, it's Graham here. So I made this video about 6 months ago where I went over the most profitable savings accounts that you can get. And since then, in the last few months, I've received nonstop messages that the information is now outdated, interest rates have gone up. Thankfully, some banks have also gotten a lot better and should be on the list. And I thought to myself, you know what? They're right. I do desperately need to re-update all of this information and make a brand new video. And this is really good news too, because the Fed raised interest rates back in January, which meant that savings accounts can now pay out a little bit more. So really what we've been seeing over the last few months is all of these savings accounts just clamoring over one another to try to get your business, which basically just means that you now get paid out a little bit more money. And this is somewhat good news for us too, because even though the Fed has now been lowering interest rates, the interest rates paid on savings accounts has not been followed. They have not been lowered. And I have a feeling the reason for this is because they know if they lower the interest rate, you're just going to go and move your money to another bank, and they don't want to risk that. So let's go over the 5 best high interest rate savings accounts that are out there today to make you a little bit of extra money for doing absolutely nothing. Because everyone knows I like making money for doing nothing. And for this list, since there's so many just random banks out there, I've set up a very strict criteria that we must follow. Number 1, it must be a well-known bank. No banks that we've never heard of that are just available to people in Wyoming. No sketchy banks that just opened up last night and happen to rhyme with Schmidt Connect. It really must be a well-established bank that we have confidence in. Now secondly, they must be verified. Unlike my Instagram account, which is not verified. Even though I've tried, because people are now setting up fake accounts, just be warned for this. If someone sends you a weird message or adds you as a friend and then wants to be paid out in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, that's not me. I don't do that sort of stuff. So if anyone ever asks you to pay in Bitcoin, that ain't me. So when Instagram ever verifies my account, hopefully this scam artist won't be able to scam. But anyway, we need actual concrete proof that they offer the interest rate they say they do. None of these teaser rates that just give you an interest rate like this for a few months and then they downgrade it to something lower. And for this, I looked at the reviews of the companies to determine their history of interest rates and teasering the rates in, just to make sure that what they say is actually true. Now third, it must be available to anybody in the United States. Like in my last video, I mentioned PNC Bank as offering a 2.35% interest rate, which I didn't realize, and a lot of people were very quick to correct me, that rate is only available for states that do not have a physical PNC branch. And as we all know, on the internet, people are very quick to correct you anytime you are wrong or leave out information by mistake or don't mention something. So I'm making sure in this video everything I mention is available to anybody in the United States. And fourth, most importantly, as we all learned with Robinhood, it must be FDIC insured. And this is a very big one, because the last thing we want is for a small company or a small bank to go insolvent and then you find out they're not FDIC insured and then you lose all your money. And then you have a bad time. I don't want anybody to have a bad time. So safe to say, all of these ones say that they're all FDIC insured. And last one, number 5, is just to smash the like button if you haven't done that already. A like goes a very long way, so if you wouldn't mind, just tapping that button and let's get into the video. Now first, we have my longtime personal favorite that many of you guys have heard on the channel, and that would be Ally Bank. Not sponsored. I need to make it very clear that my videos, when I talk about something like this, they're not sponsored. These companies are not reaching out to me and be like, yo man, mention Ally Bank is #1. Like, they don't do that, okay? So none of this is sponsored. Let's make that very clear. Now when it comes to me, I've used Ally Bank for years and it's pretty much just been my go-to online bank. Now I use this myself to run all of my rental income through this because they allow me to have unlimited checking accounts and checks and debit cards entirely for free. There's no minimums, there's no fees, and the best part about all of this is that they offer a 2.2% interest rate on their savings account, and they're FDIC insured. Now even though they don't have any sort of physical bank that you can actually walk into, doing everything online and from the app has never been an issue. And anytime I ever need like actual physical cash, like for my ridiculous YouTube thumbnails, I just go to Bank of America that I have an account with, I pull out some cash since they have branches everywhere, and that's it. However, I would have to say my one critique with Ally is just this, is that lately they have been lacking in the interest rate category. They are no longer as competitive as they once were like 2 years ago. About 3.5, 4 years ago is when I started banking with Ally, and back then their interest rate was like pretty good at the time, and lately other banks have just gotten better. I've stuck with Ally just because I've been with them for so long, I'm used to it, I trust them, I like them, and it's not worth switching for just like a little bit more money. Until recently. Now I found another bank that I'm actually moving some money over to, which I'll tell you, it's in this video if you just keep watching. Now the second option out there is a really popular online bank that a lot of people have commented on and been really happy with so far that pays just a little bit more than Ally, and that is Marcus by Goldman Sachs, and they offer a 2.25% interest rate. And with that, they have no monthly fees, no minimums, no hidden fees, no crazy stupid fees, and of course, they're FDIC insured up to $250,000. However, even though they pay slightly more on their savings account, it doesn't appear as though you can mobile deposit checks directly into that account, which is definitely a big inconvenience. Like, I don't really like doing ACH transfers, I don't like doing wire transfers, I don't like having to ever mail a check into somewhere and like wait for it. So like, it's 2009, right? It's 2009, everyone should have a mobile app for the bank account, and you should be able to mobile deposit checks. In 2019. This ain't 1999 no more. So that's the one thing that I don't like with Marcus by Goldman Sachs. If they just stepped it up a little bit, just a little bit, and kind of got with the times, then I could, you know, give my full recommendation on it. But overall, it seems just kind of like a hassle considering that there are other better banks out there. Now third, if we're gonna take it up a notch and turn up the heat, so to say, we have another really good one, and that would be CIT Bank, which is now offering a 2.4% interest rate. Not to be confused with Citibank, this is CIT Bank. Now the thing is, in order to get that 2.4% interest rate, you have to do one of two things. The first one is to keep an average balance of $25,000 in the account, or deposit at least $100 per month. But assuming you could do one of those, or even just deposit $100 a month into the account, there's no maintenance fees, there's no hidden fees, they're FDIC insured, and it's available to anybody in the United States. And the best part about all of this, unlike Marcus by Goldman Sachs, they have a mobile app that you can deposit checks to. But overall, I would actually be pretty happy with this bank. And the only reason I have not switched over so far is because I've been with Ally for such a long time, and it's not worth it to go and get a brand new bank for like 0.2% extra interest before taxes annually, and it's just not right now worth the hassle to me. But like I said, we're slowly getting better, and some of these offers are getting pretty unbelievable. Now fourth, speaking of kinda unbelievable, this is one that is believable, it's real, but I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was a joke until I looked into it, and so many people commented on this that I looked into it and I'm like, wait a second, this is actually pretty good. And that would be Redneck Bank. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. Redneck Bank. That's the actual name. Don't ask me how they came up with that name, it makes no sense to me, but it is what it is. They even have a very realistic fly on their website that you could chase around with your mouse, and you can have a lot of fun with that, which makes this website just a hidden gem. Now, Redneck Bank is offering a 2.5% interest rate on their savings account, and even better, they're offering a 3% interest rate on their checking account, which is absolutely incredible. Now, here's how this works. On their checking account, you're gonna be getting 3% interest up to the first $10,000, and then they'll give you a 2.5% interest rate in their savings account up to $50,000. And honestly, for me, if it weren't for the limit of $10,000 and $50,000, I would move my money in here in a heartbeat, judging by how many people have been super happy with them, reading their reviews online, and they seem like an all-around just really good bank. And honestly, I'm really impressed with this one, and I would recommend, if you're looking for a high-interest savings account, to look into this one, to do some more research just to make sure you're comfortable with it. But otherwise, this one looks like a really good option. But wait, there's more. I can one-up that one, and this one I think is going to take the gold medal. And this is the one I actually just opened up an account with myself so I can move some money from Ally into this account. Sorry, Ally, I know we've been together for years, but you're just not giving me the interest that I really want, because this bank is giving me the interest, and that is Wealthfront. They're offering 2.51% interest on their cash account with FDIC insurance up to $1 million. But let's take a quick pause here right now, because this is very important, because I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, wait a second, how can they offer $1 million FDIC insurance when the limit is $250,000 per bank? What's going on here? This seems a little sketchy. And that's honestly a very good question that when I saw that, I'm like, how is this possible? So I did some good old-fashioned research, and this is what I came up with. When you look on their website, you gotta read the fine print, and this is what it says. FDIC insurance coverage is limited to $250,000 per qualified customer account per banking institution. Wealthfront Brokerage uses more than one program bank to ensure FDIC coverage of up to $1 million for your cash deposits. So basically what they're doing is that you have an account with Wealthfront, but on the back end, they're taking that money and they're splitting it up between affiliate institutions, so that way you get 4 times the coverage within one account. It seems to me that this might be just a little bit sketchy. On the sketch scale, if there is such a thing, like 10 being super sketchy and 1 being not sketchy at all, this is probably like a 3 sketchy, and the only reason I say this, and it's only just my assumptions here, is that I would love some FDIC verification that they would actually qualify that up to $1 million, because you are holding your money in one account, even though technically your cash is spread across other accounts. I just want them to confirm themselves. They give the stamp of approval, because we had this issue with Robinhood as well, that they were like, wait a second, we don't do this, I don't know why you're claiming this, we're not going to cover you, and then they had big issues with Robinhood. So I have no doubt that I think 250 would be a pretty safe example, but going up to $1 million, I don't know if I'd risk it, but that's just me. But anyway, with Wealthfront, there's no minimums, there's no hidden fees, just a straight up cash account that offers 2.51% in interest. And like I said, I've been doing a lot of research on this and reading a lot of their reviews from people who have banked with them before, and it seems pretty decent. So I'm giving it a shot. I opened up an account with them. I'm gonna move some money in Wealthfront, and I'm just gonna split my money between Wealthfront and Ally, just so I can have some sort of diversification there, just in case something happens, so that way I don't put all my eggs in one basket. But so far, from what I could see, Wealthfront is a very good option that I'm gonna give it a shot. And it seems like the reason that they're offering such a high interest rate is because they want people to get into the Wealthfront ecosystem, and then once they're there, they're hoping that they're gonna be using the investing platform as well, which is really where I think they're gonna be making most of their money. So very much, this account could be like a loss leader for the company. Even though they lose money on the savings account, they might make it up on the back end, which is perfectly fine with me as long as I can get my 2.51% interest rate. And finally, I just want to mention one last honorary mention that pays beyond everyone else, and I have to mention this just because everyone has commented this on my previous few videos, or just asked me to make a video on this, but it's not that interesting to make its own dedicated video on this. So here it is here. This is the T-Mobile checking account that pays 4% in interest. But wait, of course, you don't get a 4% interest rate without a catch. There's always got to be a catch. So here's the catch. It's limited to the first $3,000 only. And you also must deposit $200 a month to get the 4% interest rate. The way I see it, to me, it's just not worth the hassle, considering that you can get 2.51% in Wealthfront and put way more money in it without having to worry about depositing $200 a month to get that rate. But of course, I do want to mention it because if you're sitting there right now with $3,000 just wanting to make the highest interest rate possible within a bank, T-Mobile is it as long as you are just okay with depositing $200 a month. Now, before I end the video, I just want to say this and make this very clear just so there's no confusion. Using these accounts is not supposed to be a substitute for investing, and it's not about trying to make the most money possible. Even though that's actually kind of the point by getting a slightly higher interest rate, but let me explain. The thing with a lot of these savings accounts is that you're not making a lot of money, if anything, when you account for inflation. Like if inflation is 2% per year and your money is sitting there in a bank account making 2.5%, you're really only making 0.5% in a year. No one is ever getting rich off 0.5% a year. However, the entire point of this is to keep your money's value or grow it by just a little bit until you have time to go and reinvest it elsewhere. For example, I would keep my emergency fund in a high interest savings account so it earns a little bit of money and doesn't lose any value, and then I have the money sitting there for obviously emergencies. Or if I'm saving up for another property and I know my money is just going to be sitting there for 6 to 24 months until I find the right deal. So of course, I keep that money in a high interest savings account so it's always ready to deploy whenever the right deal comes up and it doesn't lose any value. So again, this is not supposed to be a substitute for investing. This is not to say that getting 2.5% is a very good return, because really it's not. It's just about holding the value you have right now, maybe making a little bit until you go and reinvest that money in higher yielding returns. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. appreciated. If you guys enjoy videos like this and you have not already smashed the like button, make sure to always smash the like button. Make sure to always subscribe. It's totally free to subscribe. In fact, the subscription button pays 3% in interest by subscribing, so make sure to subscribe. Also, feel free to add me on Instagram. I post it pretty much daily, so if you want to be a part of it there, feel free to be a part of it there. And then shameless plug to my second channel, The Graham Stephan Show. Gonna be posting there pretty much daily, so if you want other content there, if you want more of me, if you want more of me, it's on the second channel. So anyway, with that said, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.